So I'm going to look at my match clip to see where we have to put Everman. And it looks like we need to white balance him a bit. We need to bring his whites more neutral. So we'll do that right here after all of our other work of color while he's still unpremultiplied. We're going to just grade him here with a grade node. And I'm going to pick the whites of his eyes as my white point. I doubt that's going to work, but it may work. I'm holding down Control Alt Shift to pick the incoming color of the white of his eye right here. And of course that's going to brighten everything up. But now I'm going to use the multiply to bring him back down again. And we'll see if this is in the same zone. May need to use this gain control as a color control. Let's split with the match clip here. Use the gain control to, now that we've established something that's a new white point, I don't know how good it is, but to color balance him. So take some green out. He needs a little bit less blue, a little bit less green. And we're probably using a different type of spill suppression than the original match clip did. Oh, we still need to lift his blacks because he's got a little bit of a blue flash just like the background in this version. So let's do that. Got too much of a blue flash. So you need to pull a little bit of that out. And now I'm going to, now that I've got it in the ballpark, let's look at this real quick. I'm going to adjust the overall brightness just a little bit more. And then I'm going to use a color correct to take it the rest of the way. To just do the fine matches on these highlights and things like that. So I'm going to split the screen again. And get the overall brightness of his skin in the same zone. think we need to suppress the green a little bit more, but let's hit it here. Let's wait till we do our final color correct. We may be able to get this out. So now I'm going to use a color correct node to get the highlights and the other things as close as possible. So if you remember, with the color correct node, you have to set your ranges before you do anything else. So I'm hitting test here, which will show us the false color overlay, and I want to isolate these as highlights. So if I move it this direction, now the built-in keyer in the color correct has identified that area on the side of his face as highlight, and his face here as midtones, and then his jacket mostly as midtones and shadows. So when I color correct here, I will be, and I do highlights, I'll be doing the skin tones here. So you can see that these highlights still have too much red in them compared to, because I want them to look white-ish. So I'm going to take highlights and I'm going to adjust the gain of those to have less red, a little less red, and a little bit more of everything else. So you could also take the color wheel here and just move this away from red to neutralize the red. Checking the black levels. Okay, so that's a pretty reasonable color match. It's close, but I'm still not happy with how much green is getting through here on his skin. So I'm going to drop down a hue correct even right down here. And we're going to use the hue correct to try to touch up some of these last bits of green that still seems to be coming through on his skin. So I'm going to do green suppression in these colors here. Let's see if we can get a little bit better looking result in his skin tones. You'll notice just pulling down, adding a tiny bit more green suppression just in this area. As minimum as I can, the minimum amount that I can get away with to get a slightly, yeah, just in this zone here, to lose that last little bit of green spill without changing his skin tones too much. So now let's double check our match clip to see if we're even getting close. Okay. We went way too far towards reddish. So at my grade up here, I'm going to pull out a little bit more red out of my version. The reason our blue jumper is getting brighter in this case is because we probably used a more light-handed spill suppression than in this original clip. So that's something definitely to be aware of in situations like this. We could, if we really wanted to make this jumpsuit match exactly the same, we could pull a key for the jumpsuit and color correct the jumpsuit to be exactly right. So let's go ahead and do that. Because we have a match clip, if they wanted the jumpsuit to look exactly that color, we would be obligated to do that. Let's try using a hue keyer to do that. And we're going to grade the jumpsuit way down here. So I'll create a hue keyer. And I want to key off of this hue. So I'll grab all of this. And we'll view the alpha channel here. And I want to make sure that I grab just the jacket because I don't want to inadvertently color correct other things. I'll invert it here, so I'm just grabbing the jacket. We're going to create a quick shape to block out his head. And I'll create another grade node here to adjust just his jacket or his jumpsuit. And what I was seeing was it looked a bit darker, so I'm just going to use the gamma to drag down the apparent darkness of it. Make sure that we don't crush the blacks too much in the process. And I will blur this matte to soften up the result here so I don't get any weird artifacts. This is the type of trick that colorists use a lot, is very soft mattes to do localized color corrections. There we go. So if we look at Everman at the end of our comp versus Everman match clip, we're getting pretty close. We need to lift the blacks on our jumpsuit and maybe desat it just a little bit. But we have to lift everything. It looks like ours is a little darker, and our blues highlights on his face are still, or the white highlights on his face are still looking too blue. So let's get that touched up. Yeah. Still a little bit too much blue in his skin. So I'm going to adjust his midtones here in the color correct. To take some of that blue out of his skin. All right. So I think we got the color in the right zone. The next step is going to be to just touch up his black levels and start working on things like his edge blend and the noise grain match between the two. And we'll do that in the next video.